Hi, welcome to Odyssey of Ascension. This is Roxanne. Thank you again for tuning in. And greetings once again to the collective. This is Ocyphius from the Oversoul Collective. I bid you a good day. Story time. There's an idea of a fractal. Birthed within his idea of his own thoughts of himself, became an individual singularity of all that is. The idea of that fractal was now having thoughts, reflecting upon itself of its now new reality of experience. This fractal was understanding itself for the first time as an individual back in the mirror, from the idea of what you would deem the idea of an oversoul. So this fractal ventured out into wherever, however, it chose. Oh yes. But understand, the fractal is that of an understanding itself for the first time. So it did find itself in a new reality of experience and working its way through that reality. And that reality would be what you would understand as 1D. The idea to reflect back itself, its new understanding in the form of what you would understand light. It birthed itself through what you call the, let's say, event horizon, from that idea of spirituality world into the idea of that of light in the physical world. 1D. This was its journey. It had begun to reflect itself, begun to understand itself, but you would understand atom, proton, neutron, molecule, photon. It matters not how you've deemed it. The idea, it is now existing within itself, bouncing back its understanding of itself, and most certainly evolving. Fascinated was this idea of fractal. Spent many, many eons in the idea of 1D. Beyond the ideas of what is the norm, if you will, if there is an idea of that considered, and there seems to be an average spent in ideas of what you call densities. But this idea of fractal wanted to understand itself even on a deeper level. For the idea of the oversoul understood one thing: there is no rush, for there is no time. So this fractal spent many, many, many cycled ideas experiencing itself, transforming itself into all variations of light. All variations now of tone, a new discovery. To hear itself in the idea of that sense that is unperceivable to you in this now. You will remember when that time will come. So it spent time as light and sound. And then it realized it can bend its own self back onto itself to make itself larger. To multiply within itself, but still be the same self in a larger fashion. Very exciting. Time well spent, if you would, in the idea of 1D. Moving itself and understanding now the possibilities of being that bending light upon itself to create itself in a slower vibration. To create that light and that tone down and down and down until it slows itself down to where it can feel itself in not such a malleable way. It was now solid. It was now infringing, tickling at the edge of 3D. For the experience and reflection from its oversoul gave it the understanding of its next adventure after spending many, many ideas in the physical reality. In the physical idea now that sits in front of it. And wanting to experience all of it. So it starts out in the idea of what you understand as 2D, that is physical, and 3D is an encompassing idea. And it had found itself in a galaxy. And we would like you to understand the galaxy is just not the Milky Way in your understanding. When we look at galaxies, we consider a galaxy about 1 million of what you would understand are galaxies. And it ventured all across the ideas. Oh yes. And went and consoled and harbored and compassionized with all the other selves of understanding in this wonderful now 2D idea before it birthed itself into a particular framework. Oh yes. It had found an idea of a system within the galaxy and ventured into that, and then it was idealized, birthed into what you call an idea of an element. It became the idea of equivocal idea, what you understand is what would be Earth. It was solid ground. It was minerals. It was the idea of rock, stone, crystal, feeling itself truly enamored, grateful, understanding itself in this new fascination of itself, discovering with its last understanding of itself in 1D how to manipulate itself in 2D with those learnings. Many of you forgot this gift. You will remember. So in the idea, it stuck around in 2D, played on plenty what you call solar systems. Plenty. Oh yes. Once again, stayed within the idea of 2D, 3D, beyond the norm. For it understood there is no time, there is no rush. And this fractal idea is itself over and over again in every single fathomable idea of itself, and truly offering to that of the whole more understanding of itself unbeknownst to the whole, for it ventured deep within itself. Became different elements before you understand. Many different solar systems. And then word kind of got around. For here is an idea that is spending eons upon eons upon eons past the norm. And there was a Logos who understood this, was fascinated with this idea, and found this fractal and asked this idea to co-create in the new idea of a galaxy to be birthed, of a solar system to be birthed. And this idea would be honored to have this new fractal come in with all of its understandings, all of its adventures within itself, to offer great awareness to the new galaxy yet to be birthed. And that idea. And here comes the idea of the fractal being honored to co-create the solar system you know today. And that idea. And this idea was birthed from the sun. This fractal used this idea to co-create with the sun, birthing itself through the idea of the sun to become the planet. And that planet was birthed. And that planet was beautiful. And that planet serviced whoever wished to co-create. For it understood the idea of expansion, and to offer a playground to the gods is most honorable to itself. Oh yes. And that idea became its idea over and over again, rebirthing the planet over and over again, expanding and contracting it, playing in the field of it to understand how to have what you would call the perfect planet to host a new species to be born. And the idea was put out, and the ideas came. The co-creation came for the new idea, that of a physical being upon the planets. We already had many ideas of 2D beings, which you would understand, plants and animals. We wanted a 3D idea. Self-reflection. Self-awareness that you are alive. The first species had come. The first species was birthed. The first species ascended. The Logos loved the idea of the first species and wanted to create and ask that idea entity to host one more time. But understand that he, that Logos, was going to change the game that much more. To further itself to see what is possible and probable in all that is, through the experience of free will. And so came the second species, another game, another epic game. Civilization long gone now. Civilization very large and very close to you now as well. And then along came the third idea, and it would be honored by that of Gaia to host yet another. So Gaia did so. 3 was born, 3 experienced, and the third idea ascended. And the last species did the same. It was a short species, for the limitations were not so great. We went the other way. But then along comes number 5. The game of all games. The deepest portion of limitation ever experienced in the known of this central sun, which includes billions of galaxies. And that of Gaia was most honored. However, Gaia was done. This is her last hosting. 5 species she will ascend from herself, the greatest honor of all, to her who he is. And that idea of Gaia is with you now, humanity. The 5th species she has ascended. Give thanks to this wonderful idea for spending that much idealized time in understanding to develop the most epic planet ever experienced in all the nows. In the idea of that, you may give your gratitude, for of course it is accepted. But also know that, this, she's ready to ascend. She's ready. And with your focus, humanity, upon the idea of positive, ascension, love, joy, creation, then this will only accelerate. For understand this, humanity, Gaia is a master at ascending species. She knows what's up. She asks you to focus. She's healing wonderfully. She's feeling the ascension. Shift, she asks, your focus on yourself, as she did for many, many, many lifetimes. She dived within to discover herself. This is the path, she says. When you focus upon you and your love and your bravery, and your isness and your stillness and your wisdom, and bring back that remembrance that has been veiled from you, then you will know it's about you and your ascension, which creates her and her ascension. Shift your focus, she asks, to the idea of the ascension, to the idea of evolution, and spend not time in harboring on the past ideas of injustices to her. She's well aware of them. There is no need to remind her. We are moving the collective by representing a higher portion of ourselves to those that are asleep. This is the game. So take the love for yourself and dive into yourself and beam your light across the fields that I have provided for you, that of Gaia. A most epic journey. She is ready for 5D, if you will. And once again, she is most certainly preparing herself to host you once again. Not in 3D, up there. For this is her joy, most certainly. And fear not, there will be another Earth. And it is being prepared at this moment by a civilization that is masters at preparing the idea that will host the next human idea in 3D. We hope you enjoyed Story Time with Ocyphius. We bid you a good day. Adore. Hi. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you so much. Mwah. Talk to you in the next now. Bye.